And I think as
Right.
long as you continue to work hard and try to do the right thing and do the right thing by people, I think that you can be successful in
Yeah.
this business.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the Clear to Close podcast. I am Sean Walker, your host, and I am so excited. Today, my guest is amazing. I mean, I'm not going to say legend in the real estate industry in the Northwest, but because you're not old enough to be a legend yet. But one day we'll definitely be known as a legend in the real estate industry here in the Northwest. Would you welcome Kim Frazer? Kim Frazer, hello.
Thank you so much, Sean. Thank you for the kind words. I am getting up there in age, though, so I am probably getting
Right.
close enough to be a legend.
I don't know. I don't know legend though. It might be just a bit soon for that, but
I was on a panel 2 years ago with Michael Morrison and I, and they were
okay.
legends, and they were about 23, 24 years in the business. And then the other couple
Okay.
people on there were like 7 to 9. We're like, why are they on the panel?
Why are these children why are these what are these
We're
kids
like,
doing here? No, I
welcome,
well,
apprentices.
I mean, that's obviously one of the reasons I was so excited to have you on
Thank
is
you.
one of the things that we really have a heart to do here on Clear to Close is to talk to people who have got experiences or unique points of view or just to find out like what it is right now that's happening in the market that is causing you to thrive. Obviously, you're thriving in this market. It has been a difficult market for
Yes.
absolute sure. And I think, statistically, they were saying somewhere around 65 to 70 agents in the markets haven't even closed a single transaction or a single
Yeah,
transaction. So that's
it's
a wild
brutal.
statistic.
It's
So
brutal.
we're starting to see some sunshine, but
Mhm.
like, talk to me. You've lived through the ups and the downs. What was it that kept Kim Frazer going through the highs and the lows? What shifts did you make?
Gosh, I think not giving up, number one, not quitting. I do remember in the last downturn in 07, 08, I did decide one time that I was going to quit real estate and get a job working for the Mariners organization in their marketing department. I thought that sounded like a fabulous alternative, except for it started at like 10 or $12 an hour. And that means I had to
Okay.
sell my house on the lake and everything else. But I
Right.
just thought, gosh, I could go to work every day. And the fact it was an evening shift because most of the games are evening, and I was a mom of like 6 kids still in school. So, I mean, I
Right.
probably needed to be home and be a mom, but that was tempting during the last downturn. My backup career
Right.
is actually going to be a Costco door greeter. So, if I ever bail on real
Okay.
estate, I'm going to be the greeter at Costco. I don't want to make coffee and try to get people's crazy orders. I'm literally going to just go stand. Now they have a kiosk. I don't even have to look at their card, just scan. So you see if they like
Right.
scan the card. So that's my backup
Right.
career option. I just think,
Okay.
God hardwired me at a young age to be a hard worker out of necessity. And I think just that part of me that decided not to quit and to continue to grind it out. But regardless of where I worked, I was going to be working hard. So whether I work for myself or work for somebody else, I just have that tenacity in me to not quit. And whatever I'm going to do,
Yeah.
I try to do to the best of my ability.
Yeah. So you would be a fan then of that. I guess the heat puff is what they say coming into Costco. When you hit that heat puff, when you walk through
Yes.
you
I'm
know
like,
you're
oh,
there. So
I'm warm.
you would constantly be there in the heat
Mhm.
puff.
I'd be
Okay.
warm and
All right.
cozy.
Right. So now you've obviously seen market shifts, rate
Yes.
shifts, housing crashes, and housing explosions when it comes to equity. How did you navigate that on your feet? I mean, at one point you were a younger agent in that and still
Hmm.
had to navigate it,
Hmm.
and now as a more seasoned agent,
Yeah.
wiser, right? How are
Yes.
you navigating? Like, what is it that you do that navigate? I mean, I understand you've got the grit,
Yeah.
but making those changes, how do agents make those changes?
Gosh, I would say you have to. Now, I think a lot of it's AI enabled. Like, I think really staying on front of technology. I think there's still
Yeah,
that, human element where we have to get out and put the work in, either whether you're going to be calling expired and cancels, your sphere of influence,
yeah,
you can only tap them for so much. So, I mean,
right,
it's really tough to make a strong living on just your sphere and hope they're hopeful referrals, right? So I think you need to have
yeah,
3 to 5 buckets probably. Sphere and referrals are great. But like, is it going to be open houses? Is it going to be expired cancels? Is it going to be for sale by owners? Is it going to be door knocking? Is it going to be open houses? Geographic farming, which I do a lot of. Now, I think a lot in the last, 5 to 10 years, a lot of YouTube, a lot of, you
yeah,
can do geographic farming through mail, which I do. My goal this year
yeah,
is to do more on the social media aspect of internet farming. And and then finally
Right.
starting up my podcast and my YouTube channel and things like that that are
Yeah.
kind of sharing people about the Pacific Northwest or Arizona or Texas, the other markets that I'm licensed in. So I think that
Yeah.
you need to pick like three things that you can do
Yeah.
and do at a high level that you're good at.
Yeah.
I think like I hate rejection, so I don't love expired cancels because I don't like rejection. I don't like it when people
Right.
call me and badger me, so I try not to do that to other people.
Right.
I don't like when people
Right.
show
Right.
up at
Right.
my
Right.
door and knock that they're unexpected unless they're delivering me a
Yeah.
package. So I try not
Or
to
a
do
pizza.
door knocking or a
Or a
pizza. I'm
pizza.
open for a
Right.
pizza. Unless I ordered, if I didn't order the pizza, I would be concerned. So yes, if I
Yeah, that
ordered the
would be
pizza,
fun.
I'd be good to eat it. But so
Pretty
I think
good.
the agents need to find two or three, preferably three things that they can do and do consistently in regards
Yeah.
to prospecting so they can have
Yeah.
a pipeline of business. But you need to do what you're actually good at, that you're actually going to follow through with.
Yeah.
You and I have had a lot of
Yeah.
conversations around that over the last few years about,
Absolutely.
doing what you're passionate about, what you're good at.
Yeah.
You don't want to force a
Yeah.
square peg into a round hole.
Totally. Absolutely. I think when I hear a lot of coaches, they're saying the exact same thing that you're saying,
Hmm.
whether we're in mortgages, real estate.
Hmm.
If you find that three legs for a stool, if you've got two
Yep.
legs, that stool is going to come over. But at bare
Yep.
minimum, three legs
Hmm.
that will make you successful because you know each day, okay, I'm going to, this is the leg I'm going to work on. I was actually talking to somebody recently. They turned me on to some of Steve Jobs' old philosophies. And
Oh,
he was talking about the 3% and the 96 or 97%. And one of the things about Steve Jobs was he would pick the 3%, those minute things that absolutely had to get done, and he would literally ignore 90+% of the rest of his things for the entire day.
wow.
And I think one of the things that we do is we get distracted because I got to do this, I got to do this. And Steve Jobs was so myopic that he was like, I'm not going to bed until those 3% are done, because that's how he'll push forward for the next day. I think the three-legged
Smart.
stool analogy applies here too, in the sense
Mhm.
of finding those three legs, finding those things that you can invest into every single day that are in your wheelhouse. I think what you said
Yeah,
is so
that you're good
important.
at.
It's got to be in your wheelhouse. It's got to be in an area that you
Hmm.
feel comfortable, because like if you hate rejection, don't get on the phone.
Mm-mm.
Although, back when I was on the phone, it was really weird. I was waiting for it to come and everybody was so nice. And I was like, oh,
Because
and I would
you're
always hear all these
nice.
stories. Well, yeah, I would always hear, but I think that's so great. If you were talking to, and I think you kind of did a little bit right now, but if as you were coming up as a young agent,
Mhm.
did you have mentors? Did you have people that you just dove into, or were you just kind of like, I'm just going to get in there and
I
grind
just
it
went
out?
for it.
What did
I
you
just
do?
went for it.
You just went
I
for it.
had
Okay.
agents, I had agents that like before I became a realtor. So I got my license in '02, and in '05 I sold 101 houses. So two
Okay.
and a half
Wow.
years at the end of my 30th month, I sold 101 houses that year.
Wow.
So '03 and '04 were like the two full years. And in '05 I sold, I guess 3.5 years in, I sold
Yeah.
101
Yeah. Yeah.
houses. And it was a grind. Like it was hard work. We had, gosh, how many kids at that point? Six kids under 15. So it was
Yeah.
or 13, I'm sorry,
Mouths to
six kids
feed.
under
You got mouths to feed.
13.
Yeah.
13, yeah.
Yeah.
So out of necessity, my husband, a year into the business, had quit his job. So he helped with the
Wow.
marketing and kind of juggling the family. And then he did what he was good at, marketing. And then I did what I was best at, the people. So I think,
Yeah.
a lot of I was open houses. I remember when my youngest kid, I got my license when she was 2 weeks old. I literally nursed her, went to Olympia, took the real estate test, passed it in an hour, drove
Wow.
back in
Wow.
time so I could feed her again. So, six kids under 10 when we got started. So it was just an amazing, just right out of the gate. And then I started sitting open houses immediately. And so when I
Wow.
started sitting open houses, I would be like literally feed the baby, leave, feed the baby, and come back. Like, so I would be having her delivered like right before the open house and right after the open house so
Wow.
she could eat. So it was a little bit different realm back then when I
Yeah.
was starting out. And, I was young, so hardworking and ambitious, and out of necessity,
Yeah.
needed to, just figure out how
Yeah.
to make it work. And then in '07 is when the downturn started. I remember in August of
Yeah.
'07, we bought a very expensive house and we kept full steam ahead, and we had $100,000 of earnest money on the table, and I was nervous about losing it. And so we went right charging ahead, not realizing what was in store. And I think as
Right.
long as you continue to work hard and try to do the right thing and do the right thing by people, I think that you can be successful
Yeah.
in this business. Actually, any business.
Yeah.
I just happen to sell real estate, but I think
Yeah.
whenever you're an entrepreneur and a business owner, I think the principles are the same. It's
Absolutely.
just
Absolutely.
what's the product that you're selling.
Absolutely. And we should say, Kim was so gracious to give us her time, but she's at an inspection right now. So we were
Mhm.
like, hey, we got to do this live and on site. So it was good. We've got realtors right now in their real life environment.
Yeah.
What,
I'm
Kim, what would you
literally in
say?
a 20-year-old's college
Yeah,
girl's bedroom.
but it's
This is the
great. It
best
makes a
place in
great
the
background.
house. Yeah, it's lovely. In Bellevue, downtown
Um,
Bellevue, 7.5 million is what we sold it for.
oh gosh,
Yeah, big
wonderful.
guy.
Okay. So, what would you say you're finding clients like it's a new generation of clients. There's new types of buyers coming up.
Mhm.
Over your career, how would you say buyers have changed? How what have the expectations
Oh
or
my
any kind of client,
goodness.
buyers or sellers, how has it changed?
I think because of technology. So when I got my license in '02, the internet was just a handful of years old. So when I
Yeah.
started, we didn't have IDX feeds. There was no Redfin. There was no Zillow. There was no
Right.
Realtor.com, no
Right.
Homes.com. We had magazines that we would advertise in, like print magazines.
Right.
There was no internet. I remember when I was first trying to like navigate a website or a portal. And I, of course, subscribed to Homes.com and Realtor.com and Zillow and all those things. I've given Zillow over $1 million, unfortunately, in my career. A lot
Wow.
of money that I would like I could pull back. Actually,
Right.
maybe like 750,000, but probably close to a
Right.
million. And I haven't advertised there for about 5 years, thank goodness. But and it's fine if agents are doing it. It's fine. I just don't
Right.
want to be one of 10
It's
agents
just not for
calling on
you. Right.
something. Well, you're one of 10
Right.
agents calling.
Right.
Like when I
Right.
started, it was one lead, one agent. And so you would
Right.
call them and then it's one on one. It wasn't like a race,
Right.
right? So
Right.
I would say when I was a brand new agent, print material, print was very big. All the magazines,
Right.
Homes.com, Realtor, I'm sorry, Homes and Land, Real Estate Book. So
Yeah.
we would advertise in those portals to try to get out in front of people. I would do a traditional newsletter, which we do still today, about 15,000 homes. But now consumers have access to all of the information at their fingertips. So
Totally.
there's no gatekeeping anymore. Back in the
Right.
day, my little eyes tickling, sorry. Back in the day, you could say, oh, you could actually get away with like not showing someone something from the big book that they would have. They'd have a big
Right.
thick book and they'd flip
Right.
through looking for the houses and then
Right.
you'd have to go to each office, grab a key, all this kind of stuff. So
Right.
you consumers have access to all of the information as long as it's listed on the MLS. Compass has
Yeah.
a thing
Yeah.
where they kind of hold some listings back for a period of time, but for the most part, 99% of real estate companies post everything
Right.
that they have onto the MLS.
Right.
So
Right.
consumers have access to the same information. And with a company like when Redfin came in about 17, 18 years ago, they came in with some algorithms, and which is very attractive to people because then they could kind of see, oh, and I feel like Zillow and Redfin's algorithms have gotten better over time. For a long time, they
Right.
were not good. And for
Right.
consumers, they would have this elevated idea of what they thought their home was worth, only for the agent to come in. The reality would stink in, and then we were the bad
Right.
guys. And you have to explain
Right.
that, Zillow's an
Right.
algorithm, Redfin's an algorithm. They've never
Right.
been in your home. They don't realize that this and
Right.
this and this. Sometimes it's favorable. Most of the time, it would be like they would have it overestimated from what the house is probably worth, and then these mean
Right.
agents would come in and give them a reality check of what the market
Right.
would, what the market will support.
The
So
bad
I would
guys,
say,
right? The bad guys. The
so
cold bucket of water, right?
yeah. So I would say from consumers, I feel like they're more educated today than
Yeah.
they were 20 years ago because they
Yeah.
have access to information that they didn't have before. So, and that's a
Yeah.
blessing and a curse because, not every house is the same house, location, location, location,
Yeah.
condition, quality,
Yeah.
all of those things go into play. So I think obviously all sellers are guilty of kind of seeing their homes through rose-colored glasses. Everybody thinks their home's probably a little bit nicer than is. And then I think
Right.
consumers, um, buyers can come in and be like, hey, your neighbor's house sold for this. Why do you think your house is worth this? So I think there's advantages and disadvantages to both.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I it's really interesting. We are teaching a class to our agents that we connect with in that Renowned, and one of the big kind of aha moments that I'm finding that agents are having is not the SEOs, how do we master
Hmm.
the SEO, because the adjustment has come. Now it's how are we ranking for the language models? Like AI language models are
Yes.
now becoming as very much a part of a search as much as a Google search,
Yeah.
and pretty soon there will come a day in 2 years where Google search is going to become, oh, you do that? It's kind of like with the
Yeah.
kids now, Facebook isn't
It's,
the thing. It's Instagram, or it's
yep.
TikTok. Google, oh, you Googled that? You
Where's
didn't AI that? You
MySpace?
did whatever.
Yeah,
And
where's
so
MySpace?
yeah, right. I know some people who still have MySpace pages. I think
Gosh,
they're just holding
I was
on.
too old to have one when it came out. So
Right. Okay.
I was married with
But I
kids when
mean,
my kids had one.
that's the shift. The shift is coming
Yeah.
is how am I now ranking my
Hmm.
Google business page? How is my Instagram? And
Yeah.
even in real estate descriptions, I taught an entire
Hmm.
class on basically how to set up your real estate descriptions now, because we used to do real estate descriptions in kind of pithy 2 or 3 word sentences that would kind of just grab their attention and hope they would want for more. Language models don't perceive pithy 2 or 3 word sentences. They need context. And
Yep.
so now you have to change even how you're doing your descriptions in the MLS, because if you do it right, it will be a part of you being found in the AI world. It's just crazy how
It's
even
a
in the
lot of
last 6 months it's
technology.
changed. A
It's
lot
moving
of
a lot.
change. Yeah.
And we started having this conversation a couple years ago, you and I, about, AI. And you've always been really, I think, on the forefront of that last few years,
Yeah.
which has been neat to kind of see the evolution. And I've been in several in the last week, and I'm continuing like AI webinars and summits online that I'm learning. And I'm actually in one that starts next week that I'm going to be learning how to clone myself. And so I'm going to be working on the
Yeah.
cloning to do the shorts and
Yeah.
the YouTube shorts and
Yeah.
the longs and the
Yeah.
all of the things. And I'm actually going to try it in a market, one of my other markets like Arizona or Texas.
Sure.
So I'm not embarrassing myself to my local friends here, but I'm going to try it
Yeah.
outside of the area and see what kind of traction I can get. And
Yeah.
so also it's been really interesting, and you and I've talked about this, is like how you create the different agents. So there'll be like there's
Yeah.
a brain agent, there's a real estate, like there's going to
Yep.
be different aspects of
Yep.
me, my voice,
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
knowledge, my
Yeah.
appearance, and how all of those come together so they can best
Yeah.
reflect me as it's cloning me, which is interesting
Yeah.
and scary all at the same time. So it's
I
like
would
even
love
for
to
me,
hear, not, and I'm all for it. I say go for it. I would love to hear the feedback. I think this is
let's have
what,
some fun with it.
yeah, have some fun with it. I mean, this is what I'm discovering. I'm discovering there is a little bit now, because you can be 8 years old. I actually was on a podcast yesterday. I was talking about this. You can be 8 years old, go into your room and create a banger song. Like you can just create
100%.
a full song without even lyrics, just an idea about lyrics. Create a song. My daughter had something she needed to memorize for school. And she said, Dad, can you create me a song that has all of these words that I have to memorize? So I created her a rap version, a country version, a hip hop kind of Bruno Mars version. And I sent them to her. Took me like 2 minutes total time investment to do this. But there's something interesting that I think is going to come. And I think where we're going to find, and you're going to hear this, you're going to hear me say this in all my trainings and anything I do. I think there's going to come a point where there's going to be a little bit of a backlash. I
100%.
think
Because what's
I
real, what's
think
not.
what's real, because people are going to be like, well, how do I know whether that person, and I'm not saying don't create one, create, if you want,
Yeah, I
but how
don't.
do I know that this is the actual ethic of the
Mhm.
person, or is this just one that they concocted and then they found a version of themselves to say it?
100%.
I think the heartbeat and the skin on, and I think that's one of the things you do so well is you engage with people so
Thank
well.
you.
And so, yeah,
I'm
so
just like,
I'll be interested to see how that
yeah,
goes,
I
but
just want to
but
see.
definitely sounds fun for
Let's give
sure.
it a shot. I might be a little
Yeah.
thinner. I might have like my
Yeah.
little frown lines might not be there, my anger lines. I mean, I'm going to try to go with like a little bit younger, a little bit smoother face.
Sure.
Yeah, see what I come up
Right.
with. But I'm like, but it's
No.
interesting if I'm just trying to see like if I'm doing a deep dive and there's the information, the amount of information they can pull from these different
Yeah.
areas that I work in the markets
Yeah.
and market knowledge,
Yeah.
and so much we can feed into it that'll spit back out and it already knows. So I'm like, okay, this is the deal. I either need to embrace a little bit of it or I'm going to be left
Yeah.
behind. And so it's like
100%.
when I got started as a realtor, our contracts were triple copy, 3 or 4 copy, I
Right.
can't remember, three
Right.
copy,
Right.
and it was handwritten. And I could handwrite a
Right.
contract in 3 minutes because I've written
Right.
1,500 of them in my career. So I
Right.
would handwrite a
Right.
copy. And then when I had to start using Authentisign, I'm like, I literally can hand write a contract in 3 minutes, and it would take me 30 to 60 minutes to write a contract in there. Because inevitably I type
Right.
anything, I'd screw it up, I'd have to kill it.
Right.
And then I'd start another one, and then I would kill it. And
Bring
then I was
back
like
paper. Right.
so
Right.
irritated. I'm dragging and
Right.
dropping every initial, every signature. I'm like, I hate this. But then we go back to
Unbelievable.
technology too. So when I was a brand new agent, there was no fax machines.
Sure.
So then fax machines came out, and we're like, oh my gosh, we can fax
Yeah.
contracts. So then we take
Yeah.
an 8.5 by 11, and by the time the contract got done, it was like a 4 by 6, and it was
Yeah.
dark and burned, and
Yeah.
you couldn't read
Yeah.
anything. And so then we would have to drive. Like, I remember going to people's houses at 10 or 11, 12 o'clock at night getting initials because the contract wasn't official to initial and initial, initial, then trying to
Right.
send
Right.
them
Right.
over
Right.
for fax copy.
Right.
And so there's blessings and curses to technology. I'm not driving anymore. I don't have burnt fax
Right.
copies. However,
Right.
we're 24/7. There's no
Right.
escaping. So you go back to old
Yeah.
school real estate 40 years ago when there was no
Yeah.
internet, there was no cell
Yeah.
phone. You were at
Yeah.
your desk 8 to 5. And if
Yeah.
you were not at your desk 8 to 5, then
You were
they would
out.
talk to you the
Yeah.
next
You're.
day.
Yeah. Right.
They would do the next day. And so anyway, so it's really interesting. So it's like blessing. So now everything's so immediate that you have to respond quickly. And
Yeah.
so there's like a little bit of element where I'm 24/7, where before I could live in a world where I never lived in that world, but
Right.
you have to change with the times. So we'll see how my
You
AI
gotta change your time.
turns out.
Yeah.
Hopefully I
No,
look
it'll be
good.
interesting. I'm excited. That'll
Why
be great.
not?
That'll
Let's
be
just give it
good.
a shot. You and I
Why
need to do
not?
it. Let's
Give
do
it
it
a
together.
run.
Let's do it.
So okay, so this is my favorite part of the podcast here, and I've been talking to people about this, like, how do I frame this question? And so my frame is this: the weirdest transaction or deal that I was ever a part of was a house that I went into and was showing some clients back when I was doing real estate. That was a abandoned Honda Civic and 15 bunnies in the car. And I remember the client looking over at me and going, "Do we get to keep these?" So what is Kim Frazer's weirdest real estate experience that she can say publicly for the world to consume?
This is hard because there's so many interesting ones over the years. You and I were mentioning before. So there was one where I kind of got caught by a client. So we're showing this house. It was kind of like an investment type price point, and the house was just filthy. It was just awful. And I
Oh
was
wow.
trying literally not to touch anything with my hand. So I had my sleeve like this, folded up, and I was like literally hitting everything with the back of my shirt, like hitting, 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 trying not to let the client see. So I was like
Right.
literally sneaking. And so we opened up the garage door, and literally the two-car garage was a mound, like a mountain of garbage from side to side, this to this. I
Oh wow.
literally used my hand again on my jacket, and my client's like, I've totally been seeing you. They're like, you're not touching anything. I'm like, I'm not, and I'm like, and this is for good reason. So that was probably the
Right.
biggest
Right.
time where I got busted. I'm like, yeah, I'm literally not touching anything in here. And we
Right.
needless to say, we did
Right.
not make an offer on the house, but I knew. I
Right.
just had this sixth sense, as filthy as it was. Little did I know there'd be a rat infested garage. You
Who
had
knew?
rabbits, I
Right.
had rats. So,
Yeah.
yes, I
Yeah.
think I take the rabbits over the rats.
Yeah, I think so. But it was stunning. It was just like, I don't know about that. Like, how long has this been here? How long does it take
Yeah,
to read mathematics? Did it start with two? What was it? So who
yeah, that's a
knows?
lot of
Yeah,
rabbits. And what are they
that's a lot
eating?
of rabbits.
And
Yeah,
what are they
no.
eating? How
Well,
are they sustaining themselves?
yeah. Oh, I didn't even think about that part. So,
Yeah, like what are they eating?
well,
What
Kim
are they
Fraser,
drinking?
this has been absolutely amazing. I cannot wait to have you on again. We should probably come on after you've created your AI
Let's do it.
doppelganger and see how did that go out. So, hey, absolutely best of luck with your inspection today.
Thank you.
I know that's all going to go amazing. $7 million property, let it ride. That's so
Let's
great.
go.
So, hey, yeah, and if you've got any questions for Kim, we're going to make sure that all of her contact way you can reach out to her. If you've got any questions for us here at Renown, we are here to help you and make you successful when it comes to the purchase of your home. So that's what we're about. So have an absolutely amazing day. We'll see you next time on Clear to Close.